happened to notice, I don't know if you did or not, but I did not podcast on Saturday. I had a sore throat and I could barely talk. Couldn't taste anything. It was our anniversary. We ended up canceling because what's the point of going out to dinner if you can't enjoy what you're eating? So we ended up going out Tuesday night instead. And I had no progress on my works in progress. So I was progressless and workless. It was just not good. And I wasn't feeling the greatest. So I didn't get a whole lot of knitting done. So I thought, well, I'll just split the difference because this next weekend I'm not going to be podcasting because it's going to be extremely busy with some family events. So I figured if I did it kind of a week and a half, that way at least I'm not going 2 full weeks without a podcast. So that being said, look what I finished. Yes, I finished the Drachenfels. I actually wore this out to dinner on Tuesday night when we went and did not spill anything on it, which is quite the accomplishment for me. It's like I need to wear scarves because everything lands like right on my chest, so I need to sort of like a bib. That would be a good idea for me. So let me take this off and let me show you what the final product looked like. I did change a couple things at the end and I'll show you what they are. Here it starts at this end and you can see some of the pattern. You can see some of the stripes. It's a really pretty pattern. It just, like I've said before, it didn't show up real well in mine because of the variegated red that I chose. And I really am not crazy about the pinks that showed up in this, like right in here. It almost looks like I dropped bleach on them. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But anyway, this is what it looks like. This is the finished product. And you'll see this red striping at the bottom. This was supposed to be striped back and forth with the brown. But as you can see, there's a lot of brown at the bottom. And I just felt like it was a little overwhelmed with brown, and I had red left over, so I incorporated that into the pattern. And then the bottom of this, I really like kind of this, you see that scaly looking pattern? Yeah. I really like it. It does snag easy. I already have gotten one snag I had to pull out and kind of stretch it around a little bit. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's very soft. I think it turned out well. As you can see, the odd pooling in places because of the color choices on my part. I would knit this again, but I would not do it in the colors that I did it in. I like the red, but I don't like the variegated red. So, that being said, we did this, and like I said, I did wear it on our anniversary, and I thought I would tell you some funny stories about our anniversary, well, actually about our wedding. My husband and I have been married for 35 years. And when we got married, I'm going to insert a couple pictures if I can find them from our wedding. In the picture, I was thin and I had brown hair back then. We looked like 2 kids getting married. And I was 19, my husband was 23 at the time. And I don't know if you're familiar with a unity candle, where, you know, the bride has a candle and the groom has a candle. And there's a center candle, and you're supposed to light it together and then blow the single candles out. It's supposed to be demonstrating that you're, you know, together as a union. Hint to any would-be brides, lift your veil before you blow the candle out. I didn't. That's why the title, I was a Pyro-bride. I blew my veil, I blew the candle and blew the veil right into the candle. Now, our backs were to everybody, so nobody could see really what was happening except my husband. Because, I mean, I looked down my nose like this, and here I could see this plume of smoke coming up. So I start going, like Little Ma's method. Yeah, I'm up there puffing and huffing, trying to get this thing out. My husband looks over and kind of does a double take, sees this smoke coming up, and is afraid that, you know, the bridal veil is either going to, because it's just like a nylon stuff. He was afraid it was either going to like burst into flames or was going to melt onto my face. So he's reaching over like this to rip it off my head and stomp it onto the ground, which would have made wonderful wedding photos. But thankfully I got it out at that point, and it didn't leave singe marks or anything. It just kind of went and stopped. I had this hole where my face had been. My husband could have kissed me through my veil, and it would have had no problem because there's a big hole. Once it was flipped back, nobody could ever tell the difference. So after the wedding, my mother's like, what was all the huffing and puffing up at the altar? It's like, I caught my veil on fire. It's like nothing, no dull moment for me. And so then we go on our honeymoon. And we went to Williamsburg, Virginia. And, some hotels have your entrance to your room on the outside of the building. Some of them have them on the inside of the building. The hotel where we were staying, you had to get to your hotel room from the inside of the building. And back then, in 1982, they were just coming out with those, like, credit card things that you use. You stick in the door, and you wait for the little green light, and then you pull it open, and you can get your door open. That was brand new technology at the time. So here's my husband and I. We're coming back from dinner, trying to stuff this thing in the door and make it work. And we look down the hall, and here comes this woman who looked like her name should be Brunhilde or something. I mean, she was, if your name's Brunhilde, I'm sorry. But anyway, here comes this woman who is like built like a Mack truck with, big puffy hairdo. I mean, this is the 80s. She's probably in her 60s. Big puffy hairdo, big heavy coat, big fur collar, huge pocketbook. And she's handing it on her arm, sort of like Queen Elizabeth, but the thing looked like a suitcase. And in her wake, trailing behind her, is this little scrawny, bald husband and a poodle that she's trying to sneak into the hotel that was supposed to be pet-free. So as they come up, and of course they're staying in the room right across from us. So we're still trying to get this door thing open and trying to get inside before the dog starts carrying on. About that time, dog spots us and goes, woof! This woman takes this handbag and gives it a swing and swaps it into the dog, and the dog kind of folds up against the wall and pops back out. My husband and I are about ready to lose it. We are just like totally ready to explode with laughter, frantically trying to get the door open. About the time we get the green light, we get the door open, we get inside, slam the door, and the two of us just completely crack up laughing because it was just too funny. The dog was not hurt, by the way, but it was just funny. I mean, she could have fit the dog in the pocketbook. It was that big. She might have been able to fit the husband in the pocketbook. I don't know. It was a good size. Like I said, she could have used it for luggage. So the next morning we get up. We're getting ready to go to breakfast. And we hear this little woof, boof. And my husband looks at me and both of us start laughing. He goes, I wonder if that was the dog or the husband. We never did find out. But apparently I'm wedding challenged because when my daughter got married, my daughter's mother-in-law, or soon-to-be mother-in-law at the time, and we were supposed to light the single candles on the unity candle thing. So we go up, and they said during the practice, we were like, practice lighting the candles. It's like, okay. So what do the two of us do? We go, both of us grab the candle and light the unity candle together. I looked at her and I said, does this mean we're married? So then during the wedding, well, my son was not at the wedding practice. He was on a plane coming home from college. So we left the wedding rehearsal and drove down to BWI to go pick our son up at like 11 o'clock. He was coming in on a red-eye flight for the wedding the next day. And my daughter, trying to save us all some money, decided to pick tuxes for the guys that were the same tux that our son already owned, because he had to have a tux for when he went down to college. So she tried to match them to try to at least save us the cost of one of the tuxes. So my son, trying to be smart, decided that he would not pack the tux because he was afraid if the luggage got separated from him, he wouldn't have it for the wedding. So he decides he's going to wear the tux home from college. Now he's going to college down in Florida, so they've got a connecting flight, and I'm not sure where. It's usually like in Georgia or North Carolina. It's usually one of the two, either Atlanta or North Carolina. So he gets his connecting flight, and they have this layover. So he's got all these girls traveling with him, and he takes his jacket off, leaves all of his luggage, and he tells the girls, you watch my luggage, I'll go check on our flight status, I'll be right back. They were watching the luggage, were not watching his jacket, and somebody took off with the tux jacket. So the first words out of his mouth at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night when we pick him up are, somebody stole my tux jacket for the wedding. And the wedding was like at 10:30 the next morning. There was no way they were going to have one at the rental place that we could borrow or anything else. Thankfully, at the time, I was smaller and I had a black ladies blazer. That's what my son wore for the wedding, was a jacket of mine. In the pictures, you can't even tell the difference because it was black, so it's not like it really showed up a whole lot. If you looked close, you could realize he was wearing a women's jacket, but, you know, he got there. My daughter was like, that's all I care is that he's there. I don't care that, you know, he's wearing your jacket, Mom, but, you know, he's in there. So then during the wedding, I happened to look down at the little program that I had typed up, because this wedding we did on a shoestring budget. I mean, I made the dresses for the bridesmaids and for the flower girl, and my mother made the vest and the little bow tie for the ring bearer. So I looked down at the program and I typed that up too, and apparently spell check had not caught a few things, and I somehow missed it. I spelled bride wrong consistently all the way through the program. It was the groom and the birdie, the mother of the birdie, the father of the birdie. Yeah, when I mess up big time. So, yeah, weddings are always fun because there's always something crazy that goes on during them. But the important thing is everybody had a good time and everybody's married. And so it's been a good 35 years. And somebody wished us the next 35 years. And I was like, do you think we'll be around then? You realize how old we'll be, you know, when you go through 35 years? I don't think I even want to think about that one. So anyway, let's get on with the program now that I've been reminiscing. If I can find the pictures, I will insert a picture of us at our wedding. There's actually, in one of our wedding pictures, there is a photo of the two of us right before I catch the veil on fire. Our backs are to everybody, and that was right about the time it happened. So if I can, I'll put them in right here. Okay, now let me show you my works in progress. Um, this is my Cozy Memories blanket. I'm getting ready to put the fourth block on here. I have 16 blocks altogether. This looks orange. It's actually like hot pink and purple. And then this is the one that I am working on currently. And that's pretty true to color. It's kind of autumny colors. It's got a lot of oranges and browns, and I think I see a little bit of a purple in there too. So that'll be this one here. So this just lives in my pocketbook, and I knit on it at work, like during lunchtime and stuff when there's some downtime. Or in between customers if I get a break sometime. So that's the Cozy Memory blanket. We are going to, eventually we're going to be seeing my granddaughter and the new grandbaby and the other grandchildren. So I thought I would show you something. You've seen the baby blanket. I thought I would show you what I made for my granddaughter. This actually started out for me years ago. I made this a couple years ago, and it sat in the drawer, and I was cleaning it out and found it. It was supposed to be much, much bigger. Of course, it's like a bib for me. It's not anywhere near the right length. It's really soft, and it's acrylic, which is another reason why I think it'd be good for my 5-year-old granddaughter, because it's acrylic and it's washable. It has two little frogs here just for decoration. It has a shawl collar. It's just a little poncho. Has a little bit of lace edging for detail on the edge. So, and it's very, very soft. So when we go out to Ohio, we'll be taking that to her as well as books and stickers and all that for all the other ones. I keep a running bag of things as I run across that I think they're going to like. Like, I have some tea that I think my daughter-in-law will like, and so I just have a bag, and I just keep throwing stuff into it, and then when we go out to see them, I give it to them. This is my Barton cardigan. You can see the Progress Keeper right here, and this is one of my Progress Keepers, by the way. It's one of the ones that I make. So you can see I'm about ready to start on to the third cable right here. So it is coming right along. Like I said, right where the progress keeper is, right here, this is the front. And it has the gusset. That's the tricky part I'm running into, because it has decreases along the sides where the gussets would be, yet you still have to keep the pattern in check. So some of the cables actually get smaller on the sides. That's where your decreases are taking place. So that's the only tricky thing I've run into with the pattern, and it's not really tricky at all, but you just got to watch what you're doing with it. So it's coming along, and I'm real happy with it. I did do something different, though. I changed to my metal needles. I was really struggling with the wood needles. This is rough to begin with, and they just did not want to slide. And it wasn't enjoyable to knit because I felt like I had so much drag on the needles. I was constantly having to pull things that weren't sliding well. So I actually transferred this over to a set of metal needles. These are, I believe, size 5. I think these are US 5s. So, yeah, it's coming along. It's getting there. But it's a lot faster now that I'm using the metal needles. I, for the most part, prefer metal needles. The only time I usually will go with a wood one is if my metal needles are tied up on another project, which is what I have going on in 2 of my other projects. Because, of course, I can't just have 2 items on the needles. Oh, no. I had to dive in and put 2 more works in progress that I've got going. So I'm going to show those to you now. If you remember a few weeks ago, I ordered some yarn for my fade that I'm going to do the Find Your Fade. And here is the Find Your Fade. It is by Andrea Mowry. And it calls for 7 skeins of yarn. You don't have to do it that way, but that's what the pattern does call for if you want to do it the way she has it. So I have, get this all together. We are going from this color, which is a khaki, kind of a khaki color. It is a very, very light sage. It has some sage undertones, but it's closest to a khaki. Then I'm going into this color, which is a definite light sage. From there, it will be going to this color, then to the turquoise, then to the other variegated color. I don't have big enough hands to hold it all up. And then the last colors will be these. So the yarn I'm using, like I said, I got it off of eBay. And the yarn band, it says it is bamboo, cotton, cashmere, a fashionable cashmere life. The rest is in Chinese, so I could not tell you what in the world it says. That is what the band looks like. And I think to find this, I put it in under bamboo cotton yarn. And this is what popped up. It's extremely soft. I've knitted with this. I've done several projects with this type of yarn. And it's very, very soft. I've made baby blankets out of this. I really like it. It knits very well. I have no clue about the yardage on this because, again, it's in Chinese. Or the color. The color is either 836 or 904. You can see right there. But that's about all I can make out. It's a turquoise. It's a light turquoise color. And then we have fading into the blue. And then these are the sparklies. This is Sunseeker by Cascade. And then into the turquoise Sunseeker. And it has turquoise, there you can see it, turquoise sparklies in it. And then to this color, which is also the Sunseeker. And again, you can see the sparkles in it. It's got gold stellina in it. And from there to that sage color. And then to the light sage. And this is how far I am in the fade so far. I'm almost finished the first lace section. Let me untangle this so you can see it well. There we go. And there you can see the lace. So I've got one more row. I take it back, I'm halfway through the lace because you repeat it again. So I've got one more row in this, and then I repeat it a second time. So that is my bind your fade. And then if that wasn't enough to cast on, I mean, the find your fade is like 1,500 stitches. Just in case I might be bored, I started another one. I started the Onion on the Spice Market by Melanie Berg. That's what it looks like. It's called On the Spice Market. It's on the Spice Market. And this is the one where I cut up the yarn. If you remember a few podcasts back, I talked about that I had cut up a solid skein of the Knitting Fever chromatic yarn, and I cut it into 4 separate colors because this is another shawl that calls for 7 different skeins, and a lot of them don't require a whole lot of yardage. So I didn't want to have to go buy full-sized and then not end up using it. And it has actually worked out very well. I wasn't sure if it would or not, but here it is so far. I don't have any of my ends woven in. That helps me keep track of which side is my right side. I know this is, when this is on my right side, facing this way, I know that that's the right side of the pattern. So, as you can see, it has a lot of short rows. That's what you're seeing right here, where this is small here, and then it's getting wider over here. It has a lot of short rows in the pattern. And the nice thing about this is the color stretches that are in that Knitting Fever yarn, I didn't have any knots here at all. They're long stretches of runs of color, and even this one, I did not end up with any knots. That was all one string. So that worked out well. And the other thing is, the Knitting Fever yarn is 1 ply, and then the other yarn that I'm using with it, like here, this is what I'm working on right now. This is an Ella Ray. Let's see if I can find the band. Yeah, here we go. This is an Ella Ray Cozy Soft, and it is like a 4 ply. But when you put them together, I was really afraid that when I put them, that it would show. But you can look up close, and you can't tell, really. I mean, I know which ones are the single ply, and which ones are multiplied. This is a multiplied. This one is like a 4 ply. This is a single. The grays are also the Ella Ray, so they are also 4 ply. So it really is not showing a whole lot of difference. So I think it's going to work out well. And yeah, so that's how far I am with this. And like I said, I'm just really pleased with how it's coming together, because I didn't expect it to work out that well. So let me show you some other acquisitions I got this week. I ordered a project. I can't show you the colors because if I did, you'd figure out what it is I'm making, or at least you'd have a very good idea of what I'm making. So I ordered 3 more of the skeins of yarn in that same, in the same Chinese yarn off of eBay. And they messed up, or I messed up. Sometimes it's hard to judge a color. I thought I was buying navy blue. Now this is a different brand, but it's basically the exact same yarn. Let's see if what this is called. I can't even read what this is called because it's all in Chinese. Has a little baby on the front, but all of that is in Chinese. So I have no idea what it says. But this was supposed to be navy blue. It's purple. Yeah, it's purple. I messed up. It's kind of like an eggplant purple. But all is not lost, because years ago I bought some of this that also has purple and yellow. Let's see, the two together, they actually will look fine. Doesn't show up as nice there, but they actually will be fine together. So I'll just use this in another project. And I've reordered navy blue. And then it is a shawl project that I am hoping to design, a 3-color shawl. Anyway, the other thing I got was some, I'm not sure if you pronounce it chigu or chowgu needles. I always have said I'm not knitting socks. I have knit socks before, and I think I've shared that before. I mean, I have done this before. I have knitted like little footsie socks. But as cold as it gets sometimes in the wintertime, and I'm on a bookmobile, it was like, boy, it'd be really nice if I had some nice heavy knit socks I could wear underneath my skirts that would actually come up like almost to my knee or above my knee. But in order to do that, you can't find them very often that go up that size. So I thought, what if I got some yarn and knitted them for myself? So I bought, and now I think I got the wrong size. These are 9-inch chigu or chowgu. They are US 3s, 3.25 millimeters. But they look like they're tiny. They look like Barbie could be knitting with these. They're so little. I'm thinking my leg is a lot fatter than that. Even my ankles are fatter than that. So I'm almost wondering if I should have gotten a 12-inch instead of a 9-inch. And look at these itty-bitty knitting needles. Wow. I mean, there's my fingers. I have little hands. And look how I'm going to be holding those things. That could be interesting. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but I wanted to try them. I've seen other people. I've heard pros and cons with these tiny little knitting needles. I understand why they're doing it, so you can make the circular motion, and a lot of times the length interferes with you going all the way around continuously. But I've also heard people say, some people love these short little knitting needles. Other people say it's very difficult to knit with them. So I'm going to experiment for myself. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to these, but that's my plan. So that was another acquisition I had this week. And now we are on to the book review. Last week I shared with you the Antique Print Mystery Series by Leah Waite. And this is the other series she has. This is called the Mainly Needlepoint Mystery Series, also by Leah Waite. And this one is Twisted Threads. This is the very first one in the series, and I think there's 3 or 4 so far. I just read one recently, so it's either 3 or 4, I forget. And it's about a lady. She goes back home. Her mother died when she was like 10 years old. She was raised by her grandmother, and her grandmother does needlepoint and embroidery work, and she's been kind of taken advantage of by a guy with her business. And so her the granddaughter, her name's Angie, she steps in, and to try to save her grandmother, she kind of takes over the running of the business. And in the course of this, she also finds out that there's some mysteries about her mother's disappearance that were never solved. And so she starts working on a mystery to try to unravel what really happened to her mother back when she was 10 years old. So it's very interesting. I enjoy it. In fact, one of the mysteries that's in here, I forget which one it's called, but there's a house up in Maine that is called the Marie Antoinette house. It just so happens that this author lives in the Marie Antoinette house. And the story behind it is that back in the 1700s, when the French Revolution was going on, that Marie Antoinette had made plans to escape the country, and that there was a ship owner who brought goods back and forth to France that had agreed to help her. And the man's name was Captain Clow, and he just absolutely worshipped the ground that Marie Antoinette walked on. So there was always rumors that he was trying to smuggle Marie Antoinette, and of course she ended up going to the guillotine. But there was always rumors that had persisted in Maine that some of the things that were her belongings made it to the United States. And surprisingly, there is some evidence to show that maybe that really did happen. There have been some antiques, there have been some jewelry and things that are attributed to Marie Antoinette that have made appearances in the area in Maine. And so anyway, the house that this author lives in is the house that Captain Clow lived in. So that's why it's called the Marie Antoinette house. And in fact, the Maine coon cat, which is a domestic cat, but it has like a bobbed tail. It's a large type of cat. There are rumors that some of those were descended from Marie Antoinette's cats that ended up on board the ship. So it's kind of a neat little story. Whether it's true or not is questionable, but one of the books that she wrote is based around that story about Marie Antoinette. So it's an interesting read. Again, I enjoy her writing. It's a fast read. I don't know if you heard that. The wind is whipping around a little bit. It's funny, our temperatures that were 69 degrees yesterday. That was Wednesday. It was 69 degrees. We were running around with no coats. Last night, it snowed. Temperature dropped 20 degrees. We were supposed to get 5 to 8 inches. Thankfully, we only got 2. But it was still kind of a slushy mess this morning, and all the schools were canceled, which is a little on the laughable side for 2 inches of snow. But there was some ice underneath because it rained and then it snowed on top of it. So, yeah, so now the wind is picking up and whipping the snow around, and it's blowing in. I can hear it like whistling through the windows up here. So, this is the book for the week, and I think that's just about it that we will talk about. And I will be back again, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday. So in a week and a half, we'll be back on track with our weekly podcast. And hopefully I'll have a lot of progress to show you on my works in progress. So hopefully I'll have work on my works in progress. How's that? So thanks again for turning in. Thank you for tuning in. If I could get my tongue to work right, would be good. And I will see you again in a week and a half. Bye-bye.